Awesome. All right. Hello, everyone. We are here with another BlueSTEM author chat. Today, we have students from Greenbrier Elementary in Northbrook. We have students from Cloverdale and Carroll Stream, and I shouldn't have got that one wrong because that's where I am. And my name is Kim Rudden. I am the publicity co-chair of the BlueSTEM Award, and I'm going to turn it over to Heather and Caroline, who are also from ISLE, and they can introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Heather Cribbs. I'm the publicity co-chair along with Kim, and I'm also a K-5 STEM teacher.
And I already did myself.
All right. All right. And we are here today to talk to one of our BlueSTEM nominated authors who wrote this beautiful book that I love. It's called Ava Evergreen, Semi-Magical Witch, and it's also part of a series. So we are here with Julie Abe, and I'm going to turn it over to her, and then we'll get started.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to meet you, and I'm so thankful that Eva was nominated. I'll say a little quick intro to the book, to my work, and then I'll open up for questions, and I'm very excited for all of your questions. So I think, have most of the students read it or are reading it soon? How is that working?
Well, we have a nominated list, and
Right.
students have until March to read a certain amount of books, and then in March they vote for their favorite book. So everyone's kind of in the process of reading whichever books that they're reading. So we're all at different levels.
Sounds good. So they'll do a quick intro to Eva. So Eva Evergreen is about the story of a 12-year-old witch with just a pinch of magic who's trying to pass her witch's test so she can follow in the footsteps of her mother, who is the most powerful witch in the realm, and Eva only has a tiny bit of magic. So Eva has to pass the test. That means she has to go to a new town with no one that she knows and figure out how to help the town before her month is up. And if she doesn't pass, she loses all of her magic. So she's very determined to do with what little she has to pass her test. This is a series, so this is the first book in the series, and there's also a second book, Eva Evergreen and the Cursed Witch. And there's also a prequel, Aliana, Girl of Dragons. If you like dragons, you might like this book. And so I started writing years ago. I'll just give a quick intro to my writing background. And I never thought, I love reading when I was younger, but I never thought I'd become published. But I started writing for fun. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And I tried sending my book out to get potentially picked up by an agent, which is the first step in the publishing process. And the book that I sent out, no one picked it up. They were like, oh, it's good, but it's not for me. And then Eva was the story that I wrote when I was just about to give up on writing. And I was like, I'm not going to write anymore. Like, this is not working. And that's when her character came to mind, of a girl who was not going to give up, even though things are very, very tough. So I hope you like Eva. If you've read it, I hope you'll enjoy her story. And now for that quick intro, I'd love to hear your questions.
All right. So Ms. Sanchez, class, if you want to get us started.
My name is Aline, and I really like the place where Eva lived. How did you come up with that place?
So all the places that I love and my stories that I write about are places that I want to go to myself. So I thought about like, oh, where could I take Eva in a place that's like magical and fun to write? Because when you're writing, you're not just writing it once, you're writing it and you're going back to that place multiple times. So you have to love it. But one big inspiration for Altari, which is the town that Eva goes to, is the Izu Peninsula in Japan. And actually that, to connect it further to something in the book, is there's this magical, like terrible storm that it happens. It's called the cooling. And so that was something that I actually went to Izu for a vacation more than 10 years ago with my grandma and my mom. And actually on the way back, I was on a train, and the train was going into the station, and the train started rocking. And I was like, wait, we're in Japan. Like, the trains don't rock here. Like, everything's always safe. And then when I looked out the window, everything was moving. And so that was the 2011 Great Tohoku earthquake. It was like a really high magnitude earthquake off the coast of Japan, but it had impacted all of Japan, most of mainland Japan. There was a tsunami after that. It was a very terrible earthquake. And in that time, I was overwhelmed. Like, I was like, what can I do? What can I do? But I made sure my mom and my grandma, who were with me, got to a safe place that night, and that we were able to go home the next day. But even though Eva's like a completely magical story, that experience and that my trip at Izu wove itself into what is Alteri in the story. And even though I had experienced an earthquake, that also wove itself into the way of the story as the culling. So it's part of my life, with weaving itself in and making it a little bit more magical. So that's how Alteri came to be. Thank you for your question. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Raya. I want to know, why did you make Eva a semi-magical witch?
That is a really great question. So I love stories where the character has something to overcome. Because if a character is so strong that they can just do everything easily, that's kind of just that's not really a story, right? Like, that's great for them, but I'd love to see a character develop and change. And so she is semi-magical because she has not just magic, but she has other skills and other powers that, even with just a flick of her wand or a snap of her hands, like, things may not happen magically and perfectly, but her other skills, like the community she creates and the friends that she makes, are part of her magic as well. So that's what her semi-magical came from.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Campbell, and did you do any research while writing Eva? If so, how long did it take?
Campbell, that's a great question. So I did do research. So some people think like, oh, this isn't a fantasy world. Like, you don't need to do a lot of research. You just make things up. I actually did do some research. I even made a map for Revel Realm. And fun fact is that it was actually the map of Japan. And I turned it to its side and adjusted it here and there. And that became Revel Realm. I also studied and looked into the food. Well, that was the fun part. I looked into the food and the culture and things like that to find ways to pull in my heritage into the story in a way that still feels magical and seamless, but did have some research with it as well. So, Campbell, thank you for the question.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Sanchez, class, we have 2 questions after yours. So just so you know, we'll go back to you after 2 questions. So you can go ahead and ask
I
yours now if you want.
apologize. Sorry.
That's okay. No, go ahead and then we'll ask. We only have 2 and
okay.
then we'll go back to you for 3.
I apologize. I didn't realize how fast we were going. All right.
Oh, no, you're
One more.
totally fine. We're good.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Nina. And besides writing, what are some of your other hobbies?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I actually have a day job. I don't just write, unfortunately. I have a day job. So during the day, I'm really busy working. And then I write at night during my free time. But when I'm not writing or working, I love to eat food. I like to make food. I like to watch anime. I like to watch fun TV shows. And I like to travel. I haven't been back to Japan, but I'm going next year. And so that's something I'm really looking forward to. Thank you, Nina.
And I just want to say she did take time off to talk to us today from her job. So thank you for being with us today.
Of course.
Are you ready? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Jordan, and are you working on any books now? If so, can you tell us about it?
Ooh, that is like one of my favorite questions. So, I do have a book coming out next year. I haven't shared the cover with anyone yet, but let me tell you a little bit about the book. It is called Tessa Miata is No Hero. It's set in our world, but about a girl named Tessa, and it's over summer vacation. She gets kicked out of every single summer camp in California, but it's because she kind of sees a okami, which is a Japanese wolf, and a mysterious woman in white that no one else sees. And so when she goes to Japan, she meets her grandparents' next door neighbor, a boy named Jin. And then there's this family heirloom, right? That she's not technically supposed to touch. And when she breaks it, she releases a malicious samurai god who is bent on wrecking all of Tokyo. So she has to clean things up fast before she gets in trouble. She's already going to be in trouble. But since you asked, I'm going to show you guys the cover. I love the cover. I hope you guys do too.
Exciting.
So this is my next book. Whoops. Tessa Miata is No Hero. There's Tessa. She's holding a shuriken and a katana, and she has a furry friend named Kit, who is a kitsune. That's a magical Japanese fox. I hope you like that one too. And
Thank
thank you
you.
for the great question.
All right, we have one more.
My name is Zainab, and what inspired you to be a writer?
That is a really great question. So, to be honest, when I grew up, there were not authors that looked like me, or that told stories like the stories that I wanted to read with characters like me. And if they were, it was kind of my grandparents' story, the Japanese internment camp, which for me was not like a fun fantasy escape that I really wanted to read or write. And so when I started working my normal day job, I was like, I want to do something that really is for me. And so that's why I started writing, and that's why I continue to write, to help readers find Evas that they can resonate to, or Alianas that feel like their friend, or Tessas that will fight evil gods with. So that's why I write.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Sanchez's class, if you want to have your next three, we'll turn it over to you guys.
Hi, I'm Katie, and besides your new book, what other books have you written?
That is a great question, Katie. So I have written a lot of books. I have 4 books out and another 4 on the way in the next few years. So it's been very busy. So like I mentioned, I have Eva. I have the sequel, which I don't have with me right now. And then there's Aliana, Girl of Dragons, Tessa, like you just saw, and its sequel. And then I also write for a little bit older teenagers. I write, I guess you would call it contemporary fantasy books for teenagers. So The Charm List and Our Cursed Love. I'm also writing an anthology, which is a collection of short stories with a few other authors that have come out in a few years. So lots of books.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Molly, and where was your favorite place to write?
Where is my favorite place to write? That's a good question, Molly. In reality, I am writing at night when it's dark, at my computer, hunched away, just trying to write as fast as I can before I have to go to sleep. But in my ideal world, I'd be sitting in a cafe with a nice boba tea and the sunshine coming in. So that's where I really write versus where I want to write. It's 2 different places. That's a great question. Thank you.
one more?
Yeah, did you have another one?
Oh, yeah, we sure do.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about your editing process?
Editing. Editing.
Editing,
Yeah, she
That's
wanted to know
okay.
if you could, did you understand what she said?
yeah, but my editing process.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So my editing process takes a long time. For me to draft a book, it used to take only like a month or two. I'll start with the drafting part. And recently it's been taking longer and longer. But my editing process is basically once I have the book and sort of like, I would say think of like you're making a clay vase or a pot or something with clay. So the first draft is you just have that huge chunk of clay and you put it on the potter's wheel and you sort of make the right shape, right? Editing is where you go and polish that block of clay and make it into something that actually looks like a book. So you make it, you add in the frills, you add in the design, you paint it, you go back and your editor says, hey, like, I don't think this part of the storyline is working, or this character isn't working. So you have to go and paint the color a different color. So the editing part is a lot of time and work. I do it quite a few ways. So when I'm drafting, I sometimes make notes to myself saying, hey, I need to come back to this later, or figure out this character's name. And during the editing process, I'm like, okay, this character's name is going to be Mimi or whatever it may be. And then further in the editing process, I also look at, do I have all the right characters? Is the storyline in the right place? All these things have to make the story what it is today. But I do have help. I have my agent who used to be an editor actually, and she helps read over my story. I have my editor who is absolutely amazing, and she also reads through my story and gives me an edit letter, which is usually like maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 pages in long, and says, what about this? Have you thought about that? And they'll have to read it and think about it and make a game plan and be like, okay, this is my bullet point list of this is what I have to do to fix the story and make it better. So very long process. I could talk about this for hours, but that's the short of it.
Okay, thank you. I have another question here. Come on over.
If you were to collab with anybody in a story, who would it be?
Oh, like another author? Who would I write with?
Yeah.
That is a good question. So I have author friends that I would love to write with. And then there's also dream author friends, right? Dream authors that I would love to collaborate with. So I would say I would actually love to collaborate with some of my friends. I don't have their books right in front of me, but some of my author friends would be really, really fun to write with. And I've actually talked with some of them about collaborating. And so maybe you'll see something sometime soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Sanchez class, we're going to pass it back to you. You guys have been asking such great questions. We're running out of questions on our end. So if you want to have your next 3 students up, thank you.
Sure.
How did you decide to write the book from Eva's perspective instead of like third person?
That is the question I ask myself every single time I write a book. That is a great question. So for me, that's a very technical question. And my goal was to make the reader feel close to Eva, like she's going on their journey. Whereas in other books I write, like I wanted to have a broader overview of what other characters are like doing and how they're reacting. But Eva, because it's such a personal character development journey, that's why I had it in so close to her perspective. For example, for Tessa, which is in third person, there's a little bit more distance because I wanted to show other things that are happening on, like if there's a fight, like there's things that necessarily won't be in her perspective. So yeah, it's a very technical question. So I love that question. And that's why I chose to be fit first person for Eva.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We haven't read the sequel yet. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
That is so. Let me think about a way to tell it without spoilers. So Eva, I can't give away what happens in the end of Eva, but for those who have read it, the end of Eva, that epilogue, someone is in danger, and so in Eva 2, Eva and her friends have to save that person and save quite a few other people to save the realm itself. And so the title of the second book is Eva Evergreen and the Cursed Witch. One thing that some people ask me is, who is the Cursed Witch? And so once you read it, I'd love to hear from you if you think it's Eva, if you think it's her mother, or maybe even a new character. So that's all I can say without spoiling it.
Go to your.
Huh?
Say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any advice for a new author?
Are you writing? Do you write?
No.
you?
Well, yeah.
So my advice to an author, I have lots of advice. We could sit down for coffee or soda or juice and talk for a long time. But my advice is, one, always keep reading and read the books that you love and figure out what you love about them. And because you want to write about things that you love, the writing process takes a long time, especially if you want to become published. So write about things that you love and will enjoy writing about for a long time. Two, find your writer friends that can support you, or even if they're not writers, people that believe in you and will want to talk to you about your dreams and your goals. And that applies for writing or anything else. And three, have fun. Have fun with what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no, can I ask?
Do we have time for another question? We have
Yep, go
so
ahead.
many questions lined up here. All right, go ahead.
My name is Lucy, and if you weren't an author, what would you want to be?
Oh, that's a great question, Lucy. If I weren't an author, I would probably be just doing my day job and baking bread and eating a lot of good food. But if I weren't, yeah, because one thing I do like to do actually, I like to bake bread in the shapes of animals. So not just like a regular like sourdough loaf of bread. I like to bake bread in the shapes of animals. Let me see if I can find a photo. So I think if I had more time, I would do more bread and maybe bake other things too. I love to bake. Let me find a photo. I'm looking on my Instagram, which is one second. So I wonder if you can see this. If you can see the little rabbit, it's a BT21 character. So that's the real one, and that is the bread version. I made the bread version.
That's so cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
What is your favorite book that you haven't written? Like, what's your favorite book outside of your writing?
That's a tricky question because I could never limit myself to just one book. But I do have, I can share a book that I read recently and I really do love, and I hope you guys will all pick it up too. It's called Nura and the Immortal Palace. And it's a story about a girl who gets basically stuck in a palace. It's a middle grade book as well. But it's got some really amazing themes, a great friendship storyline, and it's so beautifully written and has a beautiful cover. So if you're looking for a book to read, I recommend this one.
Thank you. Who
Thank
is your
you.
favorite character to write?
Wait, say it again, sweetie.
Who is your favorite character to write?
I would say my favorite character to write would probably be Ember. He's Eva's flame fox, or I would say that Ember thinks Eva is his witch, but he kind of just showed up on the pages and I wasn't expecting him. I didn't plan for him to show up, but he just appeared and he was like, I'm hungry, feed me food. And that's how he became part of the story.
Right, we have time for one more question.
Thank you.
Oh, I think that, oh, do you have questions over there? Because I think we're done on this
No,
side.
you have, yeah, we are good. So, Julie, is there anything that they didn't ask you that you were hoping to answer today that you wanted us to know? I know they were pretty thorough, so.
They were, yeah. I would say just, oh, is there one more question? No? You okay?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't,
so I would just say thank you so much. I hope you enjoy reading Eva. And no matter what your dreams are, whether it's becoming an author or anything else, follow your dreams. Oh, I love you. And don't give up.
Well, that's
Alright,
great
so
advice.
Go ahead and unmute and say your goodbyes. Thank you. You guys can say goodbyes if you want to say goodbye. Bye. Thank you for being with us today.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It was so
you.
fun. All right,
Everyone, thank you.
bye.
So nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you
Thank
too.
you.
Bye.
Bye.